What you're looking at here is the results table after Claude Code controlled my computer overnight. And this was over 8 hours with one prompt nonstop. So it built the momentum squeeze indicator. And this is after it tried several different strategies. Here was the first one. You can see the drawdown is 73%. And this failed its test. I told it has to have a high enough Sharpe ratio and it has to have a low enough drawdown. Now, the net profit we don't care so much about because we want to have really good Sharpe and drawdown ratios. People who chase net profit don't end up doing so well in real trading because it's these other metrics that matter the most. So you can see this version has slightly lower drawdown. This was the second version it built overnight after testing it. This is the MFI regime indicator that it built. And these metrics here in the table did not work. And we can have, this is the in-sample data. We also have out-of-sample, so candlesticks we've withheld from the system. And it still performed quite well with net profit, but that max drawdown again is just far too high. So the next version that it made, slightly better. This is a little bit better. There's more trades. We have a 40% win rate. Sharpe ratio came up to 0.3 in the in-sample testing, and in the out-of-sample, meaning candlesticks that we only show to it after it's configured all of the system to see how it responds to new data. Not bad. I mean, the max drawdown came down to 28% here. Sharpe ratio is 0.4. We want that to come up. And win rate is 36%. So not bad. Like it's still profitable in the out of sample, but that drawdown's still a little bit too high. The next version was 53% net drawdown in the in sample. So still it's progressively getting better, as you can see. And the win rate's still teetering around that 37%. And the out of sample testing, let's just show you the metrics for this table out of sample. 30% drawdown is coming down progressively. Sharpe ratio is slightly going up to 0.42. And of course, we want to get that better. And so here is the second last version that it made. Now the net profit is 566, pretty okay. Like it's starting to look a little bit better now. There's a lot more trades, so a lot more sample to base our decisions off. Sortino came up to above 2. Sharpe ratio is 0.4, win rate 45%, and the max drawdown is 33%. Now keep in mind, we started way back here. 73% net drawdown with it's a Keltner EMA system that it tried very first. And all of these systems that it built, it tested them and refined them overnight. So I didn't have to prompt it at all for any of this. It just built it and it used my trading engine that I have locally, which I will teach you guys how to set up in a video later this week. And I'm using Vector BT and also a lot of customization with it. So Vector BT can just flash all the candlesticks at once locally. So you download it from the exchange, you process them, so you slice up the data so that you have in sample and out of sample. So you just train your parameters to see if they pass the metrics, to see if you're optimizing it, right? So you're testing all the parameter combinations and then you're selecting the ones that pass. And then you have to validate them by doing, bootstrapping, which is just randomizing the candlesticks, as I've shown in previous videos. But basically, the bootstrapping is the hardest thing to do because when the candlesticks are randomized, it might do worse. Look at this. And so, that Sortino ratio is far lower. The Sharpe ratio is not negative. It's still positive, but you want to make sure that it survives in these simulations. Like I can show you other simulations here. This is another randomized candlesticks. And it's still holding its ground, but not quite perfectly, as you can see here. So this was the momentum squeeze, but we do have our final version here that it built, and the max drawdown in the out of sample is only 19%. Sharpe ratio came way up to 0.66 in this version. Total trades 409. So we have a large enough sample size, and in the in sample, let's see how it performed in sample versus out of sample. So Sharpe ratio is actually worse in the in sample and the win rate's 45%, but the win rate is very, very similar in the out of sample. So 45% win rate, 44.7. So pretty much 45% win rate in the in sample versus out of sample. You want to see the least amount of divergence that are with these metrics. So you want the Sharpe ratio, the drawdown to be relatively similar. In the in sample, we do have a little bit more drawdown at, I think, around 30%. And in the out of sample data, around 20%. So this system utilizes a momentum squeeze, and then it has some trade filters. And it also, I don't think it picked up any exits. So we don't have even exit rules configured for this. But, if I let this system run for a couple more evenings overnight, 8 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, or even for a full week overnight, it would take this system and then just keep refining it. So it would try to build new trading rules for it, to add to it, to see if it can be improved further. And that is the beauty of using Claude Code. And that is the beauty of using Claude Code overnight. So it's really easy to set up Claude Code. You just download Visual Studio Code or any other programming tool. There's Cursor. I personally like Visual Studio Code, and I install Claude Code on it. And I also use Droid as well because it injects better system prompts into it. And just to show you, Droid is currently topping the Terminal Bench leaderboards here. And they're using a GPT-5 codex as the number one. It's able to score extremely high on the Terminal Bench leaderboards. Now, I'm using Droid with Claude Opus 4.6, so it's a little bit lower down at only 70% versus 77%, meaning it only solved 70% of the coding problems given to it. But the kind of coding problems it's able to solve are kind of analogous to the work that I'm doing. So it's good enough for me. And also, I really like the Claude ecosystem. And when it runs the system overnight, it cranks up my computer, but Claude Opus just sits there and idles. So it's just waiting and sleeping. You can see the start sleep command here. So it actually doesn't use that many tokens while it's running overnight for the whole 8 hours, because most of that is it's just sleeping and waiting for the results to come in. And it will extract these results from the dashboards that I have here. It extracts these, and it can look at all of the metrics from this entire system here that I have. Now, here is the Monte Carlo simulations, and you want to see less variation in these, more stability in randomize. And I've programmed into my system prompts kind of what I want it to do. So I want it to start by building a backbone, a really solid foundation for the strategy, and then it will work from there. So for example, if the backbone, this was the momentum squeeze that performed really well in testing. This was just the base. This is the base version here, for example. So this is the Bootstrap testing with no additional filters. You can see it's a little bit choppy there. That's not desirable, but compare this side to side with the final version here with the trade filters. And let's just look here at how it performs analogously. So it's still not doing the best because we're jumbling up the candlesticks, but it's a little bit better than this severe chop here. And again, these simulations aren't analogous. These weren't entirely the same data set it ran on because it's random. But the best performance that it was able to do, it still counted this as, a 40% win rate in these simulations. And so it passed it. But if I kept going with this, we have a couple chop market filters, so it won't trade when the market, let's see, the market is exceptionally difficult. And like here, for example, where there's a lot of liquidity sweeps coming in, it should avoid these trading periods and only kind of activate and awake from its sleep once we have really volatile periods like in these few days here, because the market will typically trend horizontally or really really challenging periods, except for a couple days, like these really big moves when a lot of the volatility turns up. So it's pretty easy to get your bot to go to sleep for the duration of these periods here. Like, you do not want it to trade in these zones. You really want it to activate once there's more volume. For example, if there's a high enough volume on chain, then which you can use on balance volume, OBV, or you can use a bunch of other indicators to indicate the strength of a trend. If it's really, really clear which direction that your bot should be trading in, it will only trade in that direction, just so that you're trying to give yourself an edge over the markets. And again, a lot of the market functions already off trading bots. You can look at, for example, Bitcoin and Ethereum, or all the other altcoins. They all correspond together, and it's because a lot of industries are just using trading bots to extract value from the markets. And if your trading bot can get even a small portion of that pie, if it's tuned properly, then yeah, you absolutely can. You might not get as much money as these really, really big institutional bots with, and a lot of them can like trigger liquidity sweeps and things like that. But as long as you're getting a little bit of it, you have an edge. 51% win rate is still over a long period of time. Like, if you know gambling and blackjack, you know that somebody who wins in blackjack 51% of the time eventually will be profitable. And so what are my main bots built off? Well, it's the Wolfpack indicator that I have here. You can see very clear signals here, really strong bearish diamond here coming in. And so these signals are fairly obvious for my trading bot. For example, we have a teal RSI here showing that the RSI is very oversold here. So, personally on Ethereum, we're expecting a bounce here potentially coming in. And so I use this as one of the backbones for my trading bots that has performed very well for myself in real time using real money on a real trading account. So what you're seeing here are this is the back testing system. And this is where I spend most of my time, because developing a trading system, you want to have just a slight edge over the market, and that edge might not last forever, right? Obviously every trading system doesn't function in every market. That's why I'm adding all these trading filters on. You can see the trading filters on my Wolfpack bot. There's a lot of these periods where we have the yellow coming in, showing a little bit of flat markets that my bot would, try not to trade in these markets, but it would want to trade when there are more volatilities like this period. It would want to trade here, for example. So you want to make it clear for your bot exactly when to trade and it's actually more important when not to trade for your trading engine. Your trading engine just might be tuned for, a more, maybe when the market is completely capitulating and people are getting liquidated. That's a really good time to turn your bot on. For example, it's really clear what's happening. And then in the in-between, when it's unclear if it's going up or down, the bot could just sleep and wait for that opportunity. Whereas for you, as a human, you have bias, you bring those biases into it, and you might want the market to go up. And so you have this implicit bias you're taking into your trading. But the trading bot is able to take in infinite amounts of information that as a human, it's very hard to process that information live in real time, 24/7, and trying to eliminate your biases that you have as well. Whereas a trading bot just looks at the math, it's looking at and is processing more math than you can with a human brain, and then it's able to execute on that perfectly. So the reason we're using that, I personally love using trading bots and algorithmic trading, especially using Claude overnight, is just it's really becomes effortless. Now, setting a system up like this is quite difficult, as it can be very finicky, but there are systems like VectorBT, like I said, and I'll just use a quick example. Setting up VectorBT can be as simple as just asking Claude Opus, hey, we need to download chart data from, let's just say, your favorite stockbroker. We need to download that stock data or crypto exchange data, download that, splice that into training data and testing data. We got to run backtests on it using VectorBT. So we need a trading engine for that, but VectorBT already has one for you. And it's really that simple to set it up locally. And then from there, it's just displaying it. You don't have to have a pretty table and pretty display like I have here. But you can if you want to spend the time to do so. Otherwise, you could just have kind of the numbers on screen. And Claude knows what those numbers mean either way. So from the results, it can know what counts as a pass, what counts as a fail, for example. And it's really that easy to set up locally. And a lot of these run on a CPU. So if you have like an okay CPU, it doesn't run on GPU. It will actually tend to perform overnight for you. Now, you might hear your computer fan blasting on maximum fan, but it's doing this is able to do thousands of backtests per second. And we're talking deep backtests. Now, on TradingView, if you're to do a deep backtest, it might take, if we open up our strategy here and we want to do a deep backtest, let's just say cut the entire history. It's updating the report, might take a couple seconds just to do one. And if I'm on a lower time frame, if I come down to the 30-minute chart, it's, if I click entire history here, it's going to take 10, 20 seconds maybe just to do one. It's still updating here since switching over to the 30-minute chart. And, that's the difference between calling, TradingView servers, requesting them to get the trading data for you, running all of your math for your trading indicator through their system, and then getting the results. When you have all the data downloaded locally, it's really quick, right? It's just using your computer locally. There's no calls to an exchange. Your network, it's not based on network latency, and it's not based on what little processing power TradingView gives you. So this is how we're able to do all these tests, and then they plug in one-to-one to TradingView anyway. So the net profit, max drawdown, all of these calculations can be made the exact same. So when you actually plug in your Pine script, it's gonna work the same anyway, and you just have better settings instead of having to sit here, opening your indicator, tuning this one by one. they're for Wolfpack length, I might want to tune from 1 to 100 and then test all of these other 3 variations against that. And then I have to change all of them. So there's just going to be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of variations. And when you can do 1,000 backtests per second to quickly rule out some of those bad configurations so that your strategy can really learn what works on a certain coin or what works on gold, for example, or what works on NQ futures, you can quickly find, not only the best max drawdown, for example, that actually works on the data you're tuning it for, which again in TradingView, custom date range, if you're doing this properly, you would only tune for like half the data or 60-70% of the data and then configure your parameters, saving 30% of the data to validate afterwards to show unseen data to your system. Make sure that, hey, does it still have the same win rate? Does it still have the same profit factor or drawdown similarly? Just to make sure that you haven't over configured it, because that is the algorithm trading's worst fear, is configuring your strategy and hyper fixing it just for one data set. So that's why when you end up randomizing the candlesticks, you are doing these simulations with different price action, different price structures. And if your system is flexible enough, then it will be able to respond to those well in real time. For example, like going to some of these bootstraps, let's just see how well this one performed. It didn't collapse in this simulation that I'm showing on screen. So it was still able to make 150% net profit, and it was able to, once we randomized the candlesticks, it didn't just completely collapse to nothing and die. So this is why we do more of these tests. Now, if you're here on YouTube and new to the channel, click the like button. It really helps boost the video and this content, which is so important for people to see and know about. I'm offering this information completely for free just on YouTube. All you have to do is subscribe, hit the like button, bell notification. And I really want to see people succeed in this industry, because retail traders are getting wiped out by these trading bots, right? And you've seen it in the betting markets. Betting markets they're mostly algorithms. The algorithms are still wiping people out in sports betting or in trading. And so, showing people how these industries build these professional indicators and build these professional trading systems is what I specialize in. So if you really are liking this content, comment down below and I'll be sure to answer any question you guys have in the first 24 hours or so after I publish the video. I try to reply to most comments. If you see, that's a trend. I want this to be a back and forth thing with the community, so you can comment down below. And also, if you're not interested in building a whole trading system like this for yourself, then I have a website called SignalSwap. Then I have a website that suits your needs. This has a backtesting engine built into it. It's called SignalSwap.io, and it's currently in alpha testing. So if you want to test this system, we have a backtesting engine here that you can just plug in your TradingView directly. You don't have to convert it into Python or any other programming language. So if you have your favorite Pine script indicators, or it has to be a strategy, plug it in here, send it through the backtesting system. It's currently down for a little bit, just getting the server up and running, but it is actually working. So should be live soon. And if you want to test it, the website's in alpha testing, so you need special access. So come to the free Discord server. The link to the Discord server is down in the description, but just shoot me a ping and I will give you access to the instructions for, how to access the website and what we need testing for. So currently it's offering automated trading for free. So you can plug in your signals from Bybit or Apex, and you can plug in, and as well Pinex as well, which you've heard a lot on this channel. And you just plug in your trading signals from TradingView all the way to the exchange, and then you can look at your metrics here, and then also publish them on the trading bot marketplace as well, which only uses real data. So you can set up your configuration here. You can monitor your bot's performance, look at the trade history, for example, and then once you have some good metrics or results, it will unlock a publish to marketplace button here. And yeah, you could publish it to the marketplace, which is only uses real data. So I want to limit the backtesting, because backtest can obviously be misleading. That's obviously why we're doing all these robustness tests, using our trading engine here. But with with the system, 100% real signals we've gathered, and then it shows the real metrics that it did get from those. But it will have the robustness back tests that is through the website as well attached to that to see, did it pass the Monte Carlo simulations? Did it pass the out of sample testing? So you can see the real data up front. And then if you're curious about the back end here, it's not required to attach these if you're publishing to Marketplace, but obviously it goes a long way. You know, you get a little badge and you get the dashboard here so people can see if your bot really held up over stress tests as well. So that is the concept of the website, and it's free to list on the Marketplace. The creator of it keeps the majority of the share of revenue from the trading bots. So it's a win-win for everyone because there is good bots on the Marketplace, quality bots. A lot of these marketplaces, you don't know what you're getting, but on SignalSwap you do. So SignalSwap.io is going to be launching very, very soon, and you can become an alpha tester if you want to get your bot. If you have a really good trading system, you want to put it on the Marketplace, then become an alpha tester and connect your signals up, and you can be one of the first to publish in the Marketplace when we officially launch. It's also really easy to just, link your TradingView signals as well. It's just a simple two-step system here that we have. You just select the exchange and then configure how much money you want to put into the signal when it does trade. Really easy to create it and then manage it through your centralized dashboard on SignalSwap. So that's my shameless shout out for SignalSwap. I'm really proud of the system that we've built. Everything is encrypted, and so it's almost ready to go. So hit the subscribe button on the channel, and I think that's all for the video, except other than the fact that in the future, I might be doing more of these, refining this trading system, showing you guys kind of where Claude took it overnight. And it's really just like one-stop shop overnight. So I will set my prompt, I'll ask it to test various systems, and then keep refining and retaining the trading systems that work and discarding the ones that obviously don't. And so this is a far better method. A lot of people will just scour maybe the TradingView marketplace for good bots, but you don't really know, are those bots robust? Do they pass stress tests? What are the trading configurations for them? Now this takes care of all of that for you as well. It just picks the best metrics, finds the best metrics parameters, and it shows you the stress test results, as well as SignalSwap's backtesting does the exact same thing. It shows you the full in sample, out of sample comparison here as well. That is configured for. So that is going to be the end of today's video. I'll see you in the next one as well, and maybe I can show you how to fully set up the Monte Carlo simulations or the Vector BT simulations as well, just so that you guys can run these on your machine as well. So there's a bunch of other videos on the channel you could check out, all with similar methodology, and I hope that this really levels up your game for building trading systems. If you're new to algorithmic trading, it really is a huge black hole of knowledge to gain, but I hope to help make that a little bit easier for all of you. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.